What's up guys, it's Alex, and I'm going to talk to you again just a little bit more about budget recording and some actual specifics this time. Last time I talked to you guys about it, it was more about concepts and the theory behind it and why you do it and kind of motivating you to do it. This time I'm going to talk a little bit on how to actually do it. And we're outside because I like it outside, but I'm going to cut some clips in my little home studio that I use for exactly this while I'm talking about it. So a couple key things to remember when it comes to recording low budget is you don't need to put a ton of money into a ton of fancy equipment. The biggest thing is understanding if you're recording on a budget or you're recording demos, whatever you're doing it, whyever you're doing this, you're trying to get a decent quality representation of what you're doing. It does not have to be perfect, it just has to be as good as you can get it, and it has to at least be good enough to accurately represent what you're doing, so you can then use that to maybe market and get better recordings later, or you can use that to get started. So you have something recorded, you have something to sell, you have something to show people, whatever your reason may be. I mean, there's in a lot of ways, if you buy some okay equipment, you could actually do all your recordings yourself. So when you're just getting started with budget recording and you're making demos or whatever you want to do, one of the biggest favors you can do yourself is understand that you need an interface. A lot of people, when they start budget recording, they download Audacity or they download some other free or really cheap recording software, and then they try to plug their instrument or microphone or whatever they're doing directly into their computer using like a 1/4 inch to 1/8 inch adapter or XLR adapter or something like that. Most of your computers do not have a sound card that can actually handle and process those signals properly. So you end up with these recordings that sound broken and just overloaded and sound like complete poo, okay? One of the most important things I did, the biggest breakthrough early on recording myself for really cheap or for free with demo stuff, is I went and I bought an interface. You don't have to spend a lot of money on this. You can go get you know, a PreSonus or something like that. You can get, if you can spend a little bit of money and get an 8 to 16 input interface, that'll probably be all you ever need. I actually got started recording demos and did some pretty good work early on with just a 2-channel, 2-input stereo audio interface. It was actually just this little USB from PreSonus. It was an audio box USB. It was only 2 channels, but it had some EQ available on it, and it had some really good output stuff on it, and it really helped to process the signals going into the software. It overrode the sound card on my computer, so my recording software could actually get the input sounds properly and cleanly. It's one of the biggest things I can stress to you guys, is getting whatever you're doing, singing, playing, whatever you're trying to get into the computer, recording, get it in there nice and clean. And using an interface is how you're going to do that. I think that 2-channel USB audio box, I think that was $79, brand spanking new. And here's the other thing. The other thing you're going to need is recording software. I have heard decent demos done with Audacity and other free software like that. If you really want to get a good representation though, you probably need to take it up one level from there. I started out with a set of free PreSonus Studio One software that came with that audio box USB. Most of the time, if you buy an interface from someone like PreSonus or similar, a lot of times you'll get some easy, free studio software to use just to get started. And that's really important. You don't need to go out there and spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on Pro Tools or anything like that to get started with. If you're going to make a career out of it or do it pro or whatever, cool, get that stuff later. But right now, get cheap or free, decent software. That PreSonus Studio One stuff, that was great to get started on. Very easy to use. It was clean. I could get all my stuff in there and then I could play with it. If you can find an older, cheap version of Cubase or something, you can go on there and Google free and cheap recording software and find whatever. But I know I've used Studio One, I've used Cubase, love them both. If you can't afford Pro Tools, go with something like that, okay? Practice. Practice. What you need to be doing is getting your audio in and then playing with it and seeing what works and what doesn't. It's all a process of elimination, and if you're like me, you'll have a lot of fun with that actually. So you get your tracks in there, your vocals, your guitar, your bass, your drums, whatever you're doing, violin, banjo, kazoo, didgeridoo, whatever. Get it in there, play with it. Play around with it, play with tones. Any software you have is going to come with some basic mixing stuff and some little plugins here and there, basic things to play with, filters, effects. If you're a musician, you know what's in your head, you know what you want it to sound like. Play with it. Get some practice in. Don't rush it. Play with it and get the sounds you want. Other really basic stuff that you can use. Get a couple of half-decent microphones. If you're going to do any vocals at all, you do not need $1,000 plus damn it. You do not need $1,000 plus condenser mic or anything crazy like that. You can record pretty good clear vocals with a dynamic live mic. A Shure SM58, fantastic for it. Some of the Sennheiser live mics, really good for it. They make a couple of really inexpensive Sennheiser condensers that are awesome for doing stuff like that. You can usually find microphones used, just test them out, make sure they work, but get yourself a half decent, don't go buy a $29 microphone, okay? Because the input's gonna suck. Buy a half decent microphone. Buy a Shure SM58 or something decent from Sennheiser or something like that, used, or if you get a good deal on it, new. Invest just that little bit of money and get good input with it from the microphone. Recording instruments. If you have the money to go buy a Shure SM57 or a good instrument mic, go ahead. If not, most of your amps and things like that are going to have a direct line out. You can get pretty good tones on your amp and then go direct in. For the purpose of low budget recording, for doing demos and low budget albums, you will get good enough tone going line out and going direct in to your interface. A lot of recording professionals are going to disagree with me. If you disagree, put it in the comments, cool, that's fine. Yes, you will get more authentic tone later if you build cabs and really nice mics and you mic everything and you get cab dynamics and all that. But starting out to get good tones for easy without pulling your hair out, and if you don't have money for a lot of microphones, you can go direct in and you can get pretty good tones out of that, okay? Drums. If you don't have the money for a really good set of drum microphones, and if you don't have a place to set up and play live drums like that, you can get a very inexpensive set of Roland V drums or Yamaha virtual drums or something like that. That you can use if you want to get a live drum feel without really breaking the bank. You can get them anywhere from a few $100s to a few thousand brand new. You can get them used. As long as you can get one with a half decent drum brain on it, a little program box, you can use those, and you can program those these days and tune those up to sound just like live drums and get that kind of live dynamic. You can plug those straight into your interface and you can record that way. If you don't have the money for that, or if you're not a drummer and you don't have a talented drummer, use a drum machine. You can get drum machine software, just Google it, free drum machine or cheap drum machine software, get it. If you have any kind of sense of rhythm whatsoever, build your drum beats out, put them into your software, and record over the top of them. There's a lot of ways that you can save money and record on a budget, okay? You do not have to go out and spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars right away on studio time and all that, and you don't have to spend thousands and thousands of dollars on all the equipment to record with. Get yourself a cheap interface to plug into your computer, get yourself some free or cheap half-decent recording software, get a couple of half-okay microphones, and start recording and just play with it. And get better and better at your craft. If you want to record yourself, it's not going to happen overnight. You're going to have to practice at it. You're going to have to get better at it. But you can do it. For a few $100, you can set up a home studio just like what I've got, where you can record really good demos to half-decent albums and EPs all by yourself, and then when you're ready, step up your game later. I hope this was helpful. Take it easy, guys.